don't think it's a coincidence that the way they've laid out the city and the kind of road construction they have has led me to here, where this van says, get away. And I've been talking about how their community spirit doesn't want me here because they're governed by the government, but as individuals, many individuals do want me here. So it's freedom versus kind of Tory thinking, kind of oppressor, social club thinking, where they want to make everyone a slave, and they use money and corporations and things like that to do so, and they overstep their bounds when they're police officers. It's very sad that they're not man enough to not behave that way. Quite often in Santa Cruz you see these sort of homeless looking people. They probably are homeless. And quite often there's drug addiction. I don't know what this person's particular issues are or circumstances are, but that's quite often the case, right? And you can tell by the way how people are, they're kind of thrown off, and they refuse to kind of admit that they should change course. And so then they fall into this system. And there's a bunch of white supremacists, in Scotts Valley. There was a bunch of skinheads. I don't know if they're still here now. It's not very far away, still in that city. It's a city not far from Santa Cruz, that collaborate with the local white supremacists on the spectrum, right? They're not all necessarily in a hate group, but they uphold certain white social norms in order to kind of try to say that's what you get when you don't, do what is foolish, which is conform to the world, which in America especially, first and foremost, is conforming to the expectations of social norm fanatics, and it's basically white social norms, European social norms, right? It's a Judeo-European culture, a Judeo-Christian culture. So a lot of the reasons why there's homeless people on the streets has to do with the eugenics, social Darwinism, biodemography, the study of biodemography, biology and demographics, and how people seek to cook the books. And it's very sad that, we see it play out this way. And this is one of many reasons that I'm not going to have any children in this world, because they've passed a certain point of no return where there's no possible moral path after my flesh dies. People have kept breeding evil, they kept breeding evil, they kept conforming. That's why 1 John 2:15 is one of the verses I really memorized more than a lot of other ones, because it's so relevant. It comes up again and again. Their mistake is they've conformed to social norms. They didn't put God first. They think that having financial stability is more important, or their particular subculture, or keeping their head afloat, when morality is the most important. And you just follow where it takes you. And that's God's path for you. And if your parents set you up to have a harder time than other people, sometimes it's for better, like in my case, because I'm the Christos, the anointed, the actual king, the root and offspring of David, the heir to his throne, the actual heir to the throne of all of humanity. And I sit at God's right hand when I am in the spiritual realm. Okay. I came with my top martial artist strikes and challenge on the clouds, the collective spirit, the water of life, the water of God's power, the waves crashing on the beach, the water as many things, right? The teachings of God, the symbolic of peace and well-being, peace with God. Okay, the water of the Spirit. We see that in John maybe 7 or so. Okay, the living water of God. Okay, in the Lord's hand, the king's heart is a stream of water that he channels to those who please him. Is my heart literally a stream of water? No. Is the cloud that I came back on literal? No. If you spend your life following fairy tales and having fairy tale interpretations, are you going to miss that you're supposed to rally to the most wise, the top martial arts ever possible? You betcha. Are there a bunch of people in social clubs concerned with social orders that are bending over backwards to suppress my views? Yes. But it's also the judgment of God that so many of you follow them that you get the opportunity to rally to Christ in the end that you've worked for yourself. Like you built the Tower of Babel and you kept rebelling like the Jews in the Old Testament. Rebellion after rebellion, ignoring prophet after prophet. Obadiah, Hosea, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Amos, okay, and on and on and on. Zechariah, Zephaniah, Joel, Habakkuk. You did not care about the teachings of God. And so there's not a bunch of people who are loyal to God, pointing the way to me, willing to die on the drop of a hat for God. There's people dying for all kinds of reasons. Gangs, terrorism, joining corrupt militaries, corrupt law enforcement, killing they're getting an argument with their husband. They're dying for all kinds of reasons. But nobody these days is dying for God. Some people might think they are, okay? But they're caught up in their kind of ethnocentric faction of an Abrahamic faith and what have you. Basically cult-like thinking that trickles down into the general congregation of their particular denominations, factions, or subgroups. This is, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Santa Cruz High School. Yeah, I don't like schools very much, but you know, I'm just kind of keeping track of the landmarks and the things that remind me of the past when I was here, when I was 19, and when I was, you know, in my 30s, dating age, what have you.